Welcome to Saving America. This is your host, David D. Schein. Saving America welcomes Kevin McDonald. Born and raised in Seattle, Kevin is a self-described, jovial, fun-loving man who has experienced life in a big way. He has been a star athlete, actor, restaurateur, sales and sales manager, transit operator, audio producer, talk show host, creative consultant, motivational leader, and podcast host. He is the creator and host of KM Media Pro. He produces and hosts engaging podcasts that cover a wide range of topics. I know him from his Positive Talk radio show, which is on multiple networks, including Brushwood Apple, where his mission is to create positive and uplifting podcasts that inspire and empower people to achieve their goals and dreams. Our series of interviews for Saving America establishes that the world is full of interesting people. We welcome Kevin McDonald for his first appearance on Saving America.
Thank you, sir. I love to be here. This is going to be fun.
I'm looking forward to it. As you know, we ask our guests 3 questions, and the first one is, tell our audience how you went from star athlete to producing and hosting podcasts. That sounds like a non sequitur.
Well, I was too short to go pro, but I enjoyed my time as an athlete and was a boxer for a period of time and all that kind of stuff. And then I went into the restaurant business and restaurant sales, and I may be the only chicken salesman you've ever met.
Tell me more about the chicken.
I worked for a company out of Siloam Springs, Arkansas. And we talked, and it was a vertically integrated chicken company. And I went, traveled the country and sold chicken products to large restaurants and TGI Fridays and Old Spaghetti Factory and a bunch of them. And but there was a point in time, David, when I thought to myself, why am I really here? What's my mission? There's got to be more to it than what I've been told. I had the house, had the dog, had the cat, had the wife, and had the kids. They're all gone now, but I really wanted to understand why I was really here. And one thing led to another, and I got back into radio, which I'd done in college years before. I love it. I just can't stop doing it. It's kind of like a bag of potato chips.
Now, I've got to sneak in here a little quick mini question. Okay, you listed the wife after the cat and the dog. Is that why she's no longer there?
Well, I had to bury all 3 of them in the backyard. No, I'm kidding. The FBI don't come see me, but no, she decided that there were greener pastures elsewhere.
Okay, well, we won't get too far down that trail. By the way, I have worked with a company in Houston as an attorney that took boxes of chicken and took the skin and the bones out of the parts and then delivered smaller boxes to restaurants for immediate use.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, so it was very interesting. I actually was in their production room, which was a refrigerated chamber where people stood in a line and did the work. They had an interesting problem. They put the skin and the bones in big 55-gallon drums, and they were picked up twice a week. One day, the truck picking up the waste dumped one of the barrels in the middle of the street. So the people did the logical thing. They went out, scooped up the waste, put it back in the bucket, put the bucket back in the waiting for the next pickup truck. And then they rinsed down the street because chicken stuff is slippery. It could cause a car accident. Do you know that the city filed a criminal complaint against them for washing the street?
You're kidding.
They washed the chicken's waste into the gutter. So I do not do criminal law, so I had to refer them to another attorney to represent them. So they paid a $500 fine and kept on boogieing. And today that is, because it was here in the urban area of the historic Houston Heights, that is now a high-end housing project. Chicken parts production has now been moved out to the woods somewhere.
Well, somebody had way too much time on their hands.
Yeah, well, there was a neighbor who didn't like the fact that he had bought a house next to the chicken factory. And you know what? The chicken factory had been there since the 1920s.
He probably should have fired his real estate agent and got another one because they could have
Hey,
told him, you're going to have chicken parts next to you.
absolutely. Well, listen, we're going to try and keep this on track. Question number 2, in reviewing your main website, I came across Think Energy. Share with our audience how that differs from your other work and efforts.
In addition to, well, originally I started with a show called Spirit Talk because we wanted to talk about energy and our bodies and our chakras and how that all works. And like, so I had psychic mediums on and and psychics and energy workers and healers and stuff because I was really interested in the energy that we all have that is part of who we really are. And it so I had to divide that show up because I have a staff, and the people in my staff said, you can't do positive energy kind of stuff when you're doing positive talk kind of stuff. They're two different things. So I divided
Mhm.
them up, but I still have a love for psychic mediums. And I talk to my dad, my mom all the time, and all that kind of stuff. They're both passed on and that kind of thing. So it just was, it's just something that kind of a hobby that I'm interested in.
Well, you may find it interesting that I also am have people in my life who clearly have some psychic visions. Mine personally tend to be about me and what's going to happen in the future and things like that. And sometimes people get very upset. I have some evangelical friends who
Uh-oh.
get very upset, and I'm like, I'm not sure how someone perhaps having visions of the future or the past would in any way be a contradiction of a religious belief. But in any event, I don't get into big arguments with them. But the people that I know who are appear to have some psychic energy are God-fearing people. They're not satanic or anything, but it's very interesting area. And of course, unfortunately, they're running a special on one of the cable channels right now of Miss Cleo, the famed con artist.
Oh.
And unfortunately, that doesn't help anybody, when you have people who are taking advantage of the situation.
That's a really good point, David, is that be careful because there are people that are going to try and make money from you. And it's like, do you remember the movie Ghost?
Yes,
Whoopi
certainly.
Goldberg character?
Yeah.
That she was pretended to be a psychic, but she was fake. So just be careful and get a referral and from somebody that's been with them before. It's like I've interviewed John Edward and
Mhm.
several folks like that who are really, really, really talented. If we had more time, I'd tell you the story about John Edward, but I know we don't. So we're good.
All right. Well, speaking of time, let's pop to question number 3. Please share with our audience your approach to your positive talk radio, which of course we have the headline behind you. How do you select your guests and what's the point of the show?
Point of the show is primarily is to answer the question that we all have at one point in our life. I know you're on your third career now, and we all have a point in time where we say, why am I really here? What am I really here to do? I'm not here just to, sell chicken in my case or be a district sales manager or whatever. I'm here to affect the planet in a positive way, I think. And so, in order for me to activate that, I started Positive Talk Radio way back in 2003, when, as you were talking about evangelicals, in those days, meditation was something that you didn't do. Yoga was something that you didn't do. Those are now mainstream activities, but over time, I fell in back into broadcasting, and the purpose of the show is to show everybody by the interviews that we do that you can be more than you think you can be. You can be anything you want to be. And if you choose to write a book or create a song or to be a coach and to help other people. And regardless of what you're doing, if you're doing it for the right reasons, then you get to be on my show if you want to be.
Well, that sounds great. Have you had a particular guest recently who really stood out? Somebody you said, darn, that's a really interesting person.
Today, as a matter of fact, her name is Michelle Blood. She is a singer-songwriter from Australia, and she was in a near fatal traffic accident,
Wow.
and she used affirmations, positive affirmations, to heal. And she spent the rest of her life working with people like Bob Proctor and Wayne Dyer and some of the greats of the New Thought movement to really help people recognize that they could be more than they think they can be. Because, we were born great, David. I'm going to get on my soapbox if you don't mind. We were all born great, every one of us. But we spend our lives being told by other people, hey, David, you ain't so great. You got a lot of problems. And so what we're trying to let people know is you are great. Own it, live it, love it, and take care of each other and be kind to one another. That's really the premise of the show.
I love the point about being kind to each other, because we certainly have a lack of just basic courtesy and kindness and all that. By the way, you are the first person to mention Wayne Dyer's name in ages, and I have a very interesting connection to him. When I went to work on my MBA, I went to the Virginia Darden School to do a full-time MBA. They introduced a class that was a new discipline. It was called organizational behavior, which is a very basic course in MBA programs today, but they were inventing it. They didn't have a textbook yet. So they had a book called I'm Okay, You're Okay, a bestseller by Wayne Dyer. And it's kind of interesting because I just find it interesting what we worked with in mid 1970s and what it has developed into with these big long textbooks and all that. And frankly, I was perfectly fine with I'm okay, you're okay. And I like the upbeat approach and the application of it. So I think it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and just as an aside, I end every show with be kind to one another because each other's all we've got. And the whole premise of and I was I forgot to mention I was also a bus driver for 12 years. And when you're a
I
bus
missed that in your bio.
it was getting too long. But when you're a bus driver and you get to talk to all kinds of people, I'd been in the corporate world, and like you, I've talked to people that are vice presidents and making, six figures and seven figures and playing golf in hoity-toity golf courses and having $400 and $500 dinners. And then I ended my working career before I started the podcast by driving a bus where people couldn't afford $2 for bus fare.
Incredible.
I learned that we are all one, we are all together, and that we have individual life experiences, but we can be whatever we choose to be.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's a great way to wrap up this interview. Kevin, tell people how our audience can get more information about you.
If you want, well, you can talk to my ex-wife, and she'd have lots of things to say that might not necessarily be all that flattering, mind you. No, Kevin@kmmedia.pro. That's my personal email, and you can do that. You can also listen to the Brushwood Media Network. We're on at 5 p.m. Monday through Friday and at midnight Monday through Friday, and we have all kinds of interesting people, and you're going to be on that show one of these days fairly soon. And we've got something that may be coming up soon that we can't talk about yet, but we'll talk about it later, kind of thing.
Sounds like a winner to me. This is Dr. David D. Schein for Saving America. Thanks for joining us for this fascinating interview, and please subscribe on your favorite platform.